But how many more children must die? How many more houses must be demolished? How many more people must die of starvation, Chairperson, before we decide we must do something? So I want to say, I am so proud today to stand here and be a member of parliament of this National Assembly of this beautiful country in the stand that we are taking. Yes, we might be a small, insignificant to some of them part of the world, but the stand we're taking, the principal stand to shut the embassy until and they decide to bring a ceasefire that will save lives and we can have a peaceful.
So members, the next item on the order paper is a decision of question on the draft resolution in the name of the Honorable Mr. J.S. Malema. Honorable members, I wish to remind you that this draft resolution was debated in a virtual mini plenary on Thursday, the 16th of November, but that the decision thereon can only be taken in a full plenary. Honorable members, I now put the motion. The Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, House Chair. House Chair, I hereby move that we make amendments in this very important motion. In paragraph 9, be amended with the insertion of the following words after Israel, that is in the last line, which will read as follow. I open quote, until a ceasefire is agreed to by Israel and Israel commits to binding United Nations facilitated negotiations whose outcome must be a just, sustainable, and lasting peace, close quote. We are putting that amendment to this motion. I hereby move. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chief Whip. Honorable members, I've been furnished with the proposed amendment as moved by the Chief Whip of the Majority Party. According to Rule 121, a member may propose an amendment in writing, which has been done, to a draft resolution, provided that the amendment does not exceed the scope of the resolution or is ruled out of order for any other reason by the presiding officer. Having considered the proposed amendment moved by the Chief Whip of the Majority Party, I rule as follows, that the amendment is in order, as it only seeks to clarify the circumstances of the closure of the Israeli embassy and the suspension of diplomatic relations. If any members disagree with the amendment, they can, of course, vote against it or even abstain from it when a division is called. Having clarified this matter, I rule that we proceed with a question before the House. I've also applied my mind to the request for declarations that has been received. In terms of Rule 108, I will now allow one member from a political party wishing to make a declaration on the proposed amendments to do so. The usual time for declarations will apply. And the declaration should focus on the suitability or acceptance or not of the amendment as moved by the Chief Whip of the Majority Party, and in no way does it open up the debate that was concluded last week, Thursday. Honorable Singh.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I note the amendment proposed by the ANC, but I think in fairness to all of us in the House, even though the amendment was furnished to the table, it would have been fair for all members of all political parties to receive the amendment so we could look at the amendment and then take a considered decision. Now this is being pounced upon us and we are expected to vote, we are expected to declare on something that we've just heard, and maybe our members on the virtual platform may not have heard it as well. So I'm just making an appeal that we find some way of dealing with this matter so that we can take an informed decision one way or the other.
Honorable Mulder, I saw your hand.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Yes, I'll recognize you now, Honorable Malema.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I'm covered by what the Honorable Singh just mentioned. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Malema.
Chair, we agree with the amendment as made by the Chief Whip of the majority party, and that what Honorable Singh is saying is from his own imagination. He's not quoting any law or he's not referring to any requirement for that matter. So it can't be
Thank you.
that because today I've got a different view, the rules must apply differently. There's no rule that is asking anyone to circulate anything. The amendment has met the requirement, as you have indicated, the chair. That is the beginning and the end of the amendment. We therefore support it and want to applaud the ANC for its maturity on this matter. It doesn't matter how politically we can disagree, but
Thank
when
you.
it comes to the
Order,
issue
honorable
of
members.
humanity, we must protect the human rights of all human beings all over the world. Thank you,
Thank you.
ANC, and thank you, EFF members of parliament.
Thank you, Honorable Malema. Honorable members, I must add that in terms of my ruling that I gave, I studied the proposed amendment very carefully, and it does not extend the scope of the resolution. I would implore, though, in future that this information is shared, once submitted to the table, to all the political parties so that they can familiarize themselves with the amendment made to paragraph 9 of the original resolution. Honorable members, is there any other further comment or declaration in this regard? Honorable Mulder?
Honorable Chairperson, you indicated that you will allow declarations of vote. Are we there now or not yet?
Well, Honorable Member, the different members started expressing themselves on that, but I will allow if there are declarations on this matter.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I think your ruling is correct that there should be declarations. The Parliament and the committee did not have the opportunity to discuss or debate the amendment. The amendment was only moved today. The amendment is different from the original motion in the sense that the original motion did ask for the suspension of all diplomatic relations with Israel. Now, the amendment is something different, and it creates certain conditions. The first condition that it creates says there should be a ceasefire in this that Israel agrees to. That's the first precondition that the ANC now sets. The second one that the ANC now sets is that they are now instructing Israel to commit themselves to binding United Nations facilitated negotiations. But it goes even beyond that. We are now binding the United Nations process by also saying the outcome. We are dictating what the outcome should be. The outcome must be just, must be sustainable, and lasting peace. So it's a different motion altogether. The fact of the matter is that once again, and the ANC follows, that is quite clear. No, it's quite clear.
Order, honorable members, order.
Now, Honorable Chairperson.
Order, honorable members.
Honorable Chairperson, if there was ever a time to keep negotiations and discussions open, it was now. You may not be aware of that, but at this moment, there are negotiations going on in Israel, between Israel and Palestine. You will not know that. And the first of those negotiations will probably lead to the release of 50 hostages, women and children. And it will not lead necessarily to a ceasefire, but it will lead to a suspension of hostilities for approximately 5 days. So that process is now going on. But the South African government, with this position of yours, have decided.
Order, honorable members.
South Africa wants to opt out. We don't want to have anything to do. We don't want to have anything to say. South Africa will be absent. Now, you have decided to take this responsibility and to take this decision. And you must understand that it will have consequences also for South Africa. It will have consequences for the role that we play, and it will have consequences for the role that we play in the international community.
Order, honorable members. Order, honorable members. Honorable Tobias, will you switch off your microphone?
Thank you, Chairperson. The motion that you want to adopt will have consequences for the standing of South Africa in the international world. I think it's a mistake, and I think we should not proceed with this. But be that as it may, the ANC has now followed the EFF. We will vote against this motion. I think we are making a big mistake. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, honorable members. Honorable members, just calm down, calm down. Each party will get the opportunity to make a declaration, but let us not drown the speaker at the podium. He's got a right to say what he wants to say, and you will have the opportunity to also make your remarks. Are there any further declarations?
Point of order, Chair.
What is the point of order, honorable member?
Now, Chair, we cannot allow people to make points of irrelevance. They must talk to the amendment and not talk to the general issues that were debated already. They are wasting our time now.
Thank you. Now I listened to the honorable Mulder. He made a point why he's got certain views around the amendments to the motion. The DA?
Chairperson, the DA has already fully ventilated its position on this matter. And so I'm just going to take this opportunity to say that this motion actually runs counterintuitive to the ANC's stated aims of having a genuine stake in negotiating a peaceful resolution to this crisis. Because by withdrawing diplomatic representation from Israel and expelling or demarching the Israeli embassy in South Africa, we are severing diplomatic ties, and therefore we have no genuine stake in playing a meaningful role in negotiating a peaceful resolution. And may I also just say that there are 25,000 South African citizens in Israel that will now not have any access to consular services. But more so, the South African embassy in Tel Aviv works in tandem with the embassy in Ramallah. And so the embassy in Ramallah will now not be able to function and serve people in that territory. So it's having unintended consequences. And essentially, citizens living in both Ramallah and in Israel will now have to go to Jordan and to Egypt for consular services. So the DA absolutely does not support the amendments that have been brought on the floor.
Order, honorable members, order.
And the ANC is essentially scoring an own goal here by having made these proposed amendments. So the DA's position is it's a firm no from us. We need to have a stake in mediating a peaceful resolution to this conflict that culminates in a two-state solution where a free Palestine and a secure Israel can coexist in peace. Thank you, Chair.
Do you know about own goals?
We must come back, those ones.
Oh, no. Honorable members on the platform, let's not spoil this. You know what the rules are. Let's stick to the rules, both on the platform and in the House. The ACDP.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, we learn in Scripture that blessed be the peacemakers, for they will be sons of God. By this amendment, I firmly believe that we are losing the opportunity as South Africa to be honest brokers in the situation. And as we now speak, Israel and Hamas have said they are a truce and captive release deal is closer than ever. And this has been facilitated by third-party countries. South Africa could play that role. But by this amendment, we are basically, and yes, it is, should it pass as a motion, it is a call upon the government, and government will then take its decision separately. But I would urge government to really consider, and I'd urge the ANC to consider what the Honorable Durka Minister herself said 4 months ago, 4 months into the Russian-Ukraine war. She said, the international community must focus on finding a sustainable solution. That has been South Africa's position on Israel and Palestine continually. The minister emphasized that a solution will not be found in isolating one party or trying to bring a party to its knees. Yet this is exactly what this amended motion seeks to do. Thankfully, Minister Pandor, in response to a written question filed yesterday, stated that the breaking off of diplomatic ties with Israel would be unlikely and counterproductive. That is from the executive's position. Surely ANC members of parliament can realize that it is not in the best interest to pursue this motion as amended, because the outcome for United Nations facilitated negotiation, yes, that sounds wonderful, but it's going to take time. It's been taking years. And we need to be part of that solution as peacemakers. However, and it's very clear, as we know, the Israeli ambassador has been recalled by Israel already today. So it is so important for us to understand the consequences of this decision, the consequences of being influenced. That's why the Arab countries around Israel have not broken off ties, because they want to have the influence. The only one country, Bolivia, has broken off ties. Never before that I can remember has South Africa ever broken off diplomatic ties with the country. And I want to address the
Order, honorable members, order.
I want to address the tens of millions of Christians who love Israel and the Holy Land. A decision to break off diplomatic ties is unprecedented, and it will make it very difficult to visit the Holy Land. What is this sense of this little country that is the size of the Kruger National Park? I'm Michelle Khai. The ACDP will not support this amended motion. I thank.
Thank you. The NFP. Order, honorable members, order.
Thank you, Chairperson. And first of all, allow me to thank the EFF and the ANC for agreeing on this amended motion. Indeed, this compromise between the two political parties indeed shows that they are focusing on wanting a peaceful solution, putting pressure on the Israeli government, something that nobody on this left did other than the EFF. None of these political parties made a single statement directly condemning and asking Israel to stop blowing up these children and these hospitals. 75 years negotiations, Chairperson, have been taking place. Nothing has been achieved. So what negotiations are we talking about? What do you want to negotiate? The only way you can negotiate is by putting pressure on them to come to the negotiating table, and that is what we are doing. We are now putting pressure to say, let's have a ceasefire. Why is there this thing about going on killing and killing and killing? Why can't we stop it and say, let's sit down and talk about it? But if you didn't achieve it, Chairperson, for 75 years, are we going to achieve it now because the DA or the ACDP or the Freedom Front said we must do it? They could have played a pivotal role, Chairperson. They could have in bringing pressure to the Israelis together with all of us and saying, let's find a peaceful solution. They're not interested in that. Do you know why? It's all about the money that they get. This is what it is. They've sold their souls. That is basically what it's so. This is giving us an opportunity. Now remember the EFF motion, and that is what I would have agreed on originally. Shut it down and shut it down now. And the IFP, I want you to remember what happened during the days of apartheid. If you say negotiations or negotiations only, what about the tens of thousands of black brothers and sisters of mine that died? Maybe not of the IPA of mine that died. Where did it come from? It's the violence that created it. What have you done to stand up the IFP and say to the Israeli government, to the relationship you've got and the monies you'll receive, can you please stop? Let's save these children's lives. Let's stop it.
Honorable Sheikh Imam, will you take your seats? Order, honorable members, I want to hear the Honorable Singh.
Yeah, I want to rise on a point of order. The honorable member is entitled to his point of view, but he must not make spurious allegations here that we get money from any source. Which and
Honorable,
it's not a political.
order, honorable members,
Yes,
order.
direct statement that the IFP receives money from these sources, and that's why we are taking the decision. And that is wrong. It has to be withdrawn.
Honorable member, order. I will check Ansat because I heard it a bit differently. The member made the remark of money, but he did not mention any political party. It's only now later that he is addressing a matter that the NFP have with the IFP, and that is normal in the course of debate. Please proceed, Honorable Sheikh Imam.
Now, Chairperson, the question I want to ask, we say let's negotiate. And yes, I agree. But how many more children must die? How many more houses must be demolished? How many more people must die of starvation, Chairperson, before we decide we must do something? So I want to say, I am so proud today to stand here and be a member of parliament of this National Assembly of this beautiful country in the stand that we are taking. Yes, we might be a small, insignificant to some of them part of the world, but the stand we're taking, the principal stand to shut the embassy until and they decide to bring a ceasefire that will save lives and we can have a peaceful solution. So the NFP
Thank you, Honourable
supports
Member.
it. Thank you very much.
The PAC,
Honorable Chair, we are supporting the motion, the amendment as tabled by the Chief Whip of the Majority Party. Now we can vote for the motion, actual motion.
Al Jama,
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair. Honorable House Chair, we've heard about the release of over 100 Hamas Palestinian children hostages that is imminent. And as we know, Hamas consults South Africa in everything that they do, especially with the help of Egypt. The motion of the EFF is the motion of the EFF as amended by the ANC is the most revolutionary motion ever debated in the Sixth Parliament and must be part of our legacy report. So future generations can be proud of the Sixth Parliament. The amendment should have gone further. There is no place for Israel in South Africa, and every trace of Israel must be wiped off our land, South Africa. So Al Jama will support the amended motion, although we want more. That embassy must get the same fate as the hospitals in Gaza. It must be wiped off the face of the earth, and a legal way must be found to wipe the embassy building in South Africa off the face of the earth. We don't want any memories of Israel in South Africa anymore. Those who commit genocide and honorable members who support genocide anywhere in the world are the worst of mankind since the Iron Age of civilization, just like those who are responsible for the Holocaust and those still alive for the Holocaust must be hunted down. The same for those responsible for the genocide and their supporters, and there are some in this house. I would like to apologize to Christians in Gaza for the support of South African Christians for Israel in South Africa. Myself and Imam Sheikh tried to soften their hearts, but we failed. 700 of the most prominent Jews in South Africa has called for an immediate unconditional ceasefire. They are the Jews that Africa needs now than never before. I'm sure there are many other Jews like that. Al Jama salutes the Commander-in-Chief of the EFF and thank the supporters of the EFF and the ANC for this revolutionary motion. Thank you very much.
the ANC,
House Chair, it is not surprising that the DA, ACDP, FF Plus were not going to support the motion and the amendment. That is not surprising. We, the people of South Africa, who knows exactly what it means when you are killed, when women are killed, when children are killed, we know we have gone through that. We are victims of that. And therefore, we're not ashamed to support Palestine fully. The hypocrisy that has been shown here, you think that if you quote that the president is doing 1, 2, and 3, we are aware of that. We are an arm of state. We have a right as this parliament today to express our view on the unfolding genocide that is happening in Palestine. And therefore, how do you rush to negotiations when there's no ceasefire? You have to level the playing field. Ceasefire for you to be able to negotiate. The entire world is faced with the responsibility of bringing an end to genocide, killings, and untold human suffering that is happening in Palestine. As we speak now, the President of the Republic of South Africa, indeed, is chairing an extended meeting of BRICS, whose objective is to bring about ceasefire. You don't want to go to ceasefire in negotiations. Makala kuyekwe izithobo ezikubulawa abantu. As we speak, we have launched this country 17th November through our ambassador to the Netherlands, to the ICC Chief Prosecutor Karim Khan, a request to investigate and establish all the facts, because we do believe that in the case of Israel, it is their head of state whom we say needs to have an arrest warrant used against him, because, as we believe, the evidence required is overwhelming. 75% of women and children have been killed, displaced, homeless, not allowed to access health care facilities. In Gaza, more than 12,000 people killed. Today, we're supposed to speak in one voice as parties to say, ceasefire, free Palestine. But because you benefit out of whatever feels you good, you don't want to support anything. Uni magrestu, zeningavumi ukulahlekiswa. Let us be clear that this is not a religious war, as some have tried to tell us in this afternoon, in this declaration. Ayiyo la Israel yasebhayibhileni le. Uyabulawa kule Israel, yile kaNetanyahu le. Ayiyo le kaYesu Kristu, sunuhamba nimfifitheka nivalwa amehlo ngabantu abafuna ukusebenzisa ubuKristu ucinezela abathatha umhlaba wabantu, bathatha izimbiwa babashiye belambile abantwana basePalestine. Our government has withdrawn its diplomats from Israel for the consultation. And we know when we talk these numbers, we're talking human beings that have been killed. Others are still under the rubble. Abagaziwa into babaphina nizoma kule ndawo nithi no masingathethi nge-ceasefire, masingathethi nge-negotiations. Our amendment to the EFF motion calls for a ceasefire to be agreed upon, and both parties to the conflict commit to binding United Nations facilitated negotiations whose outcome must be a just, sustainable, and lasting peace. Thina sifuna uxolo ehlabathini, we stand for peace, and anyone that is violating human rights, lichaba lomzabalazo, lichaba lelizwe, free Palestine now, free Palestine. Ceasefire until this is achieved. The Israel embassy should remain closed. Bade balunge bazoyiqonda lento embi bayenzayo. Thank you very much.
Honourable members, before I put the question, I wish to respond to some direct or indirect comments made on the competence of the Assembly to deal with this motion and its amendment. The scope of a resolution must be understood to mean its intent, that is, what it seeks to achieve. The specific question before the House today is whether, based on the grounds advanced, the House should call on government to close the Israeli embassy and suspend all diplomatic relations with Israel. The Constitution provides not only for the legislative role of Parliament, but also for its oversight and accountability functions, the facilitation of public involvement, cooperative government, and international participation. Members of Parliament represent the interests of people in government in all these processes. Members are well within their rights to bring such a motion to the House for consideration. The opportunity was given last week and today for all political parties to express their views during this debate. The draft resolution and its amendment takes into account the separation of powers and the role of government in foreign policy formulation. Should members of the House adopt the resolution, it will be conveyed as a formal resolution of the National Assembly to the Executive. I want to put the amendment to the motion of the Honorable Mr. J.S. Malema as moved by the Chief Whip of the Majority Party. Honorable members, the Speaker has determined that in accordance with the rules, a manual voting procedure will be used for this division. In order to establish a quorum, I would request the table to confirm that we have the requisite number of members physically present in the chamber and on the virtual platform to take this decision. Party whips will then be given an opportunity to confirm the number of their members present and indicate if they vote for or against the question. Order, honorable members. There's members who's not paying attention. They're simply continuing with their discussions. A member who wishes to abstain or vote against the party vote may do so by informing the chairperson. Having confirmed that we have the requisite quorum, we will now proceed. The question before the House is that the amendment to the motion on the order paper, as moved by the Chief Whip of the Majority Party, be agreed to. Voting will now commence and the chamber doors will remain locked and members are not allowed to enter the virtual platform until voting is concluded. I'll now call on the whips to confirm the number of members in their parties present in the chamber and on the virtual platform and indicate if they vote for or against the question. I now recognize the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Thank you very much, House Chair. House Chair, the ANC in physical attendance here were 43. On the virtual platform, we are 157, which totals up to 190 voting in full support. Thank you.
No, I think the total is 200.
No, total is 200.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The DA?
House Chair, in the House, we have 10 members. Online, we've got 57 members, totaling to 67 voting against the amended motion.
In the amendments. The EFF?
Asibonge Chair, 30 on the platform, 13 in the House, 43 in total, voting in favor.
Thank you. Sorry, IFP. My apologies.
Thank you very
Honorable
much, Chair. We are 7 on virtual, and I'd just like to bring to the attention of the table that Honorable Sabisa is registered as Sabisa and not under IFP. So that makes it 7, 4 in the House, voting no. 11 total.
The FF plus.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. We are 2 members in the House, 7 on the platform, 9 votes voting against.
The ACDP.
Thank you, House Chair. We 3 on the platform, 1 in the House, voting against. I'm Israel Chai.
The UDM. ATM.
Thank you, House Chair. We are 2 on the virtual. We are voting for. Thank you.
Thank you. Good. The NFP.
1 in the House in support. Thank you, Chairperson.
AIC. Cope. PAC.
1 in virtual platform, voting in favor.
Al Jama.
House Chair, we are 1 on the virtual platform and we vote in favor. And
Order, honorable members. Is there any member that wishes to abstain or vote differently to their party? Is there any member? None. Thank you. The voting session is now closed. Honorable members, the outcome of the division is as follows. There's no abstentions. 91 voted against and 248 voted in favor. And the motion as amended is accordingly agreed to.
Free Palestine.
From the
From the
river to
river
the
to
sea.
the
Honorable
sea,
members.
Palestine will be free.
Free Palestine.
Order.
From the river to
Thank
the
you.
sea,
Thank
Palestine
you,
will
Honorable
be
members.
free.
Order, order.
Free Palestine.